And here we go with episode 6 of the Mike Spot podcast. I'm Chris, senior producer and lead designer of 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
And I'm Josh, quality assurance and associate designer of 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
And I'm Aaron, narrative designer for 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling.
We have a pretty packed episode, so let's just jump straight into user questions real fast. We got one from Javi. Just by the way, thanks, Javi, for all your questions, all your community engagement. It's been really great seeing all your suggestions and things like that. So on this last episode, he commented, because the team mentioned using screen caps, not being able to export results, I'd like to ask again, is there a way to edit the text blurbs in the results screen? Me and Chris, we've been talking about this, and, we hadn't thought of it too much. But what a great idea, having these basic choices, we could maybe add some more life into the results of these matches and kind of just give more explanation on what happened, right? So we have some pretty interesting ideas there. And based off this question, I think that you'll be really happy, Javi, with what we come up with. So yeah, we're putting that in the development pipeline. And yeah, it's just a matter of time before we see something like that.
All right, next, we had a question from Player One Connected, who's essentially asking about us on the creative team, sort of, having personal favorites and trying to push them a little bit harder just because we like them or whatever. And that's an interesting question. And I think what it did is it kind of inspired us to ask it in a different way. Sometimes when you want to discuss a topic amongst people who have personal favorites on the topic, you might say, like, who's on your Mount Rushmore of, whatever the topic is, right? So we thought, that'd be fun to ask each other, who's on your Mount Rushmore of 80s Mania wrestling characters, right? So there's no right or wrong answer here. It's all personal opinion, and you just kind of have to, explain your choice a little bit, defend your choice, if you will. Any takers to start?
Yeah, we'll see if there's any wrong answers. No, I'm just kidding. I can start. There's some interesting choices here, but I think that we might be all kind of hitting the same vein with our number one pick. But mine's got to be Dude Broham. Guys. I mean, come on. He's the guy who squashes all of my champions. He's the one who takes the tag belt every time I put him in a tag team. He's just the guy, all right? He's the guy of my Fed, no matter what Fed, what year. It's all Dude Broham.
Nice.
And on the second vein of that, similar reasoning here, but my number two pick has got to be Average Guy, all right? He's just an average guy, all right? But he's got a lot going on. He's probably the number one good guy that I have, throughout all of these years. He's kind of the backbone of the baby faces, as I like to say. He has great tag potential. He's got his son, he's got a bunch of different people that he meshes well with. So that's my number two. Number three, I kind of go for the skill. All right. I need 5-star matches somehow. So we're talking Mercenary. Okay. He's the hardest one to get all of his stats leveled up, but is it worth it to put him in those matches? Absolutely. He's my top performer. He's always getting me the 5 stars. So he's got to go on the Mount Rushmore. And, this is a surprise pick, guys. All right. I'm going to be honest. My last pick. Starboy.
Oh, wow.
We're talking Starboy, and it's because from day one, he's the person that I always want to push up the card. He's always fighting in those main event spots, maybe from underneath a little bit. But, man, when he wins the big one, it's the biggest I pop hard. All right. It's this huge moment. So, I got to say those are my 4. A little babyface heavy maybe, but you know what? That's who gets the cheers in my Fed.
Very cool. Lovely list.
I can go next because there's a lot of contrasts that I could play. That's kind of fun. First of all, I will note, when I was kind of putting together this idea, Death Star Boy was a contender for a while. I've greatly enjoyed Starboy and Death Star Boy, especially since he bulked up a couple years back. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That man he's a weapon out there, so he's fun to use. To your point, you mentioned Dude Brohan is number one. I'm going with a rival. I'm going opposite as a big one on Mount Rushmore here. And as a precursor, I'll note that not all my selections are even, quote, main event or like legendary guys. I'm not necessarily saying here are the best guys per se. I'm kind of going with here are guys that no matter what I'm doing in my game, I have a strong use for. And I'm inserting them into, those mental storylines. And they're very valuable to the flow of the game. So first off, Pierre.
Nice.
Any version of Pierre is getting heavy play in my games. He legitimately is legendary and can squash people left and right if he needs to. But he's also fun. He has alts. he's got Kezif, and you can't overlook that. And so Pierre is a big one for me. Another guy who I always have play for, and a lot of that comes down to him being a tweener, an early tweener, if I remember correctly, in the game, is Chicano. Chicano, I can throw anywhere, into any story, into any match, and he's going to get a good performance. And I'm a fan of him as a character and, you know, the versatility that he brings. Leaning a little more pure lore for the third one, might be a surprising one, Mad Abner.
Oh.
Yes, Mad Abner in this game, every match is some type of weapons match. And so basically, if you're fighting him, you are being thrown to the wolves, is what's happening in my game. He's the definition of a gatekeeper, and he is going to bloody somebody up when he is fighting. He may or may not win, but you're gonna have to survive him. So I've always got space for Abner on a card. If I can cheat a little bit for number 4, this is a little bit more of a role. I like to have somebody in my game that is a pot stirrer, that is driving stories and being bringing versatility in that. So there's 2. One's Mr. Tycoon. Mr. Tycoon is rich. He is always buying muscle and sending that muscle out to destroy people. There's endless fun that can be had with that story. Second, and this is diving a little bit into my actual current play, I guess, somebody I have had a lot of fun with is Iron Mask. So I'm using as it's 5 people. I'm calling these guys the same role. They're the pot stirrers. Iron Mask is a weapons dealer. Read his bio. He loves to move pieces around the battlefield and make people hate each other. So Iron Mask always has a role because there's always a pot that needs stirred. So in my games, that's the Mount Rushmore. Those guys are always out there doing something.
Oh, fantastic.
Love it.
The mask is great. I mean, the mask is so great that it made it into Modern Mania. So, you know.
All right, I'm going to keep my list down to 4.
Way to play by the rules.
Yeah. So mine is going to be, how did I do this? When I posed this question to myself, I don't know. I looked at it more from like, these are all my children. Who do I love the most? So I'm just going to kind of go one by one. And this isn't based on playing the game, because having worked on it for so long, I admittedly don't really play it, casually. I'll play it to test it, or I'll play around to be inspired now and again. But I don't play it, So this is more just kind of on, perception of characters and where they fit in the universe and history and all that kind of stuff. First and foremost, now, when Josh kicked off his list, I thought he was going here as the one that probably most people are going to put on their personal Mount Rushmore, and I'm going with Arizona Chance. So Arizona Chance is, let's be honest, he's basically every player's first crush, right? He's in the very beginning. He's like a true blue baby face, but he's still got an edge. So he's kind of working both sides of that. He's a pop culture reference that's pretty much universally loved. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's one of those that's like real easy to place in the wrestling world. Mm-hmm. So he kind of fits right in. And he just looks the part, and he sounds the part, and he plays the part. He really does. He carries everyone's early fed for a while.
Very true.
So Arizona Chance is going to be up there. These are in no particular order. Number 2, I've got our big bad Slashmaster. Mm-hmm. So I've been a fan of horror since I was small enough to start sneaking scary stuff on TV when I wasn't supposed to. So I've always kind of generally been attracted to the horror, ghouly, bad guys, that kind of stuff. Slash kind of embodies that thing in the early game, of course. He's quite original. He's not really heavily inspired his first version by anything. It's kind of a true mishmash. And, he's just been around so long and has different iterations, and he's across both games. Or he's actually been in every game multiple times. And he just has that heart, right? He's like a soulless monster with heart. But I don't know. He's just a personal favorite of mine, so I'm always gonna be down for Slashmaster. All right, next up, my number 3 pick. I went with Laser.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of kind of OG 80s Mania guys that I can mention here. Overall, I just feel like his look and his name and his vibe is like the perfect rep of an 80s wrestler. He's cartoonish. He's big. He's jacked. He's tanned. He's bleach blonde. He's got the face paint. He's got loud colors. He's full of energy. It's like a simple premise. It's like you get it just by looking at him. and we had him on early promos, when we first started the original game and everything. I mean, he made a cameo in the background of the Retromania wrestling video game. So I'm going to put Laser in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got one spot left, Aaron, not 8 spots. Right. So for my 4th pick, I'm going to go with Turducken.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going with Turducken. No, I'm not.
Hey, Slashmaster needs somebody to destroy.
I'm just kidding about Turducken. Chill out. All right. I'm going to go with Ace Arcadium.
Yes.
The original.
Oh.
The original Ace Arcadium. So, I mean, the earliest conceptual stages for 80s Mania Wrestling, I'm talking about when it was like notes on a notepad, right? Before there was artwork, before there was anything put into a computer or anything, it was just notes and ideas and stuff like that. And one of the the foundational thing that there was that I had in front of me was basically Ace Arcadium versus Dark Invader. Like that kind of was like the foundational pillar or whatever that everything else started branching off of. So those two, especially Ace being the kind of homegrown good guy, holds a special place. And he obviously kind of gets that huge glow up in the 90s when we did 90s Extreme. He got kind of given one of the gimmicks that we knew would kind of go over pretty well. And I think a lot of people are fans of the 90s Ace of Spades. I am too. But I don't know. I just love that original art. There's something really nostalgic about that piece to me personally. So I'm big on Ace Arcadium. And that's my Mount Rushmore there. Those 4 guys. So.
Man, we need to do a 4-on-4 match now and see who's Mount Rushmore wins.
I don't think it would be mine. I think Chris has too many main eventers in there.
I'm shocked there wasn't more crossover.
I know.
I really thought we were gonna overlap a lot here, but it was pretty interesting to hear everyone's takes here. So
Absolutely.
Thanks for that, fellas.
All I know is I'm sending Abner with weapons, so he's gonna need them all.
For sure.
He's going to need them all.
And hey, if you want to post your Mount Rushmores in the comments below, we'd love to take a look at them and just kind of see where everyone else's head's at, too.
Absolutely. And look, if you guys thought this was cool, thought this was fun, I know we did, maybe next episode we'll approach this and do it again, our Mount Rushmores for Modern Mania.
Ooh.
All right. And with that, I think it's time for a commercial break. Let's hop into that, and then we'll come back into some 80s Mania.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following. For body slamming WWF action in and out of the ring is WrestleMania Challenge for your NES, and it's WWF Superstars for Game Boy, Battle of the Hulkster, Ultimate Warrior, and more from LJN.
All right, we are back. Let's jump right into 80s Mania. Aaron, we had some pretty cool releases this month. Can you tell us a little bit about what's in the store for 80s players?
Yeah, a couple of new characters entering the fray here, new alts, as it were, into 80s Mania. A couple guys we've kind of had on the list for a little while, and we found the right time and really felt that we had fleshed out the characters as they needed to be, and that the time was right to drop them. So, first of all, Crouching Tiger has entered the game. An alt of Wing Chun, who himself was already a bit of a newer character, has a long span of active years, but we're always looking to expand that more like hardcore side of the game, as well as the cruiserweight division. So he was a 2-for-1 there. And once we found that perfect inspiration to kind of evolve Wing Chun, we had to sort of crouch and pounce, so to speak. And so he's there. He's a very colorful guy, a little bit messy around the mouth, but he's a lot of fun, and I think players are going to like him. Along with him, we have a new version of Eddy Grunge. Eddy has been around longer in the game, and we love us some Grunge brothers, but Kurt has had an alt for a while, and we felt that the time was right to give Eddy one as well, which also really kind of differentiates the bros a little bit more. We thought Eddy lent himself very naturally to his new influences, and so we made it happen. Also, Cadaver's Crypt, shout out to our custom faction names that you can fill in yourselves. Cadaver's Crypt is a custom faction, and we felt like Cadaver and Eddy as a team in the game was a nice nudge for players to maybe expand that group. We gave you a starting point. Go make it happen there. So Eddy is filling some spots that needed to be filled.
Yeah. I highly requested alt too. I think people were really excited to see Eddy get some love. So I'm happy to see it too.
I was personally very excited about that one. Yeah, he's been on my wish list for a while.
Yeah.
And also, guys, since the last time we've had a Mike Spot episode, there was another 80s update in which we got some new special matches in. This was one of those updates where, people request new matches a lot. Sometimes not specific matches, just, hey, give us some new matches. And one of the driving forces, I think, for our selections was to get special matches into 80s Mania that allowed the Big Mouth and the Showman to have a focus for being able to exceed in a special match type of their own. I think we ended up with the blindfold match being one of those, and the evening worm match being the other one.
Yep.
Just thought that was a fun way to balance the game out, to get some more special matches into the game. And it does allow for some fun pre-existing feuds in the game to have maybe a centerpiece match that it didn't have before. So you can, play out those feuds in a little bit more of an exciting fashion with some of these special matches.
Yeah, for sure. One of the big ones I'm excited about was the stretcher match. I think it's a kind of a new big blow-off match that, really didn't have a spot. Like, there wasn't any way to kind of make another match work like that. And, I think the stretcher match is such a unique kind of match type that it's been an exciting one that I've added to some feuds for sure already. So, been a lot of fun there. Also, the boxing match, I think that we've gotten a pretty good response on that, that we can kind of recreate some of these moments in wrestling history, where they use this boxing stipulation, so really interesting ad there. I've been having a lot of fun with it.
For sure.
All right, that'll do it for 80s Mania. Josh, why don't you tell us about what is new in Modern Mania?
Yeah, in Modern, we had a very exciting update. We see that there was a lot of love for the jobbers, and we decided to kind of take two of those jobbers, and we chose Wally and Kristy, right? So with Wally, he had such a cult following. We had so many ideas for him. It was just a no-brainer to put him on there, with the Northwood Kingdom all...
Sir Wallace!
Where he's the squire, and then, his kind of like Mr. Moneybags, crypto grifter, all
Wall Street Wally.
That was something that I was really excited about. I've been using him like crazy. He's such a fun character. And then that last kind of reimagining of Wally, where he's kind of this upper mid card almost. Where he can kind of hold his own and coach others to success. Kind of like use his tricks of the trade. I've been really enjoying that Wally character. Same thing with Kristy. Kristy, I think I've been seeing people online. I've been using Kristy a lot, loving Kristy a lot, and really interesting characters there. She goes from being, good old Kristy Tristan, who can't win a match to save her life, to, kind of channeling that into this new persona where she finds herself in a way.
Miss Modern.
Finds the beauty in wrestling in a way is what I always thought about it. And she becomes the pageant queen, and then the storyline of her becoming
Kristy Unhinged
is just a lot of fun to work out in your feds. So some really interesting stuff there, and keep an eye out for some future updates to the rest of the jobbers because we're hard at work on them.
Oh yeah, they're going to be awesome.
Also, we had some brand new characters, a huge new tag team to mess around with.
Exclusive!
Of course, I'm talking Jaden Verse, a.k.a. J-Verse, and his partner Rashad Avante, a.k.a. Riz Avon. Love that name, Riz Avon. Probably one of my favorite names that we've dropped this year. Chris came up with that name Riz, and I think it just fits perfectly. These guys have some really fun character work in there, some really cool alts, great looks, and some really cool feuds. Honestly, I like some really interesting tag feuds, of course, but there's some really fun singles feuds that have really spiced up my cruiserweight division and honestly my world title scene too. So I hope you guys are having as much fun with them as I am.
Oh
yeah, we were all super thrilled with the reaction to the exclusive promos, and then just to see how the community really seemed to be enjoying them post release.
I think it's time to throw to the shout out. Chris, what do we got for this episode?
Okay, this time's going to be a little bit different on the shout out. This time, I wanted to call out the Discord community. Discord is sort of later to the party here in terms of areas where people congregate and talk about the game, share their stuff, share their ideas, share their thoughts and feedback. But in recent years, I'd say after launching Modern Mania GM, our Discord really, in my opinion, sort of took off where it's just really lively, lots of cool back and forth on there, lots of fun, interesting people sharing great feedback. So I want to shout out the whole community. Now, I'm going to fire off a bunch of members that we see participating. If anyone's left off this list, it's not a complete list, but if anyone's left off, I sincerely apologize. This is just kind of, a surface level list, but I do think it hits a lot of people. So let me just rip through these. Special shout out to Flawless and Problem Child and Maddie Two Dope and Misfit Ryo and Nima and Mr. Leedles and Kankor and Mario IRO and Modern Maniac Diablo and Zach of the Job Squad and MF Chum and Xavier Patron and Buggy and Wolfiestein and G-Dub Nation and Cowboy Camden, Arcade, Phantom, Mr. Rad, Fortress Ironhold, and I'm sorry if I missed you, but if you're part of the Discord community, we appreciate you very much. You keep things going, you keep things alive and exciting, and we here at Checkmate do our best to kind of steer more people to join the Discord, because I do think it's somewhat the future of community discussion. Thank you guys for participating in it and being players and fans of the game. Thanks for everything. So special shout out to the whole Discord community.
Last episode we teased something big, a brand new game, and I think we have some more news that we were ready to share.
All right, yes. I've got plenty to share this time around. So let's start off and let everyone know that this new game we are working on is in the Mania universe. It's actually the 3.0 engine that we're working on. So let me go ahead and explain, right? So you might have heard me say this before, but consider 80s Mania Wrestling Returns, which we built a few years back, as the 1.0 engine, okay? A few years go by, tons of new features are added. We re-envision how things work, and that gets us to Modern Mania GM, which came out a couple years ago. That's the 2.0 engine, right? Again, what we're working on right now is the 3.0 engine. All right, so if it is the 3.0 engine, what's it all about, right? Like, what's the theme of this game? So I'm going to say that it's not what you might be expecting. In other words, it's not a true sequel to either of the games that we've got now. What it really is, it's a re-envisioning of the Mania universe. It's a brand new game. So it does contain wrestlers and characters that you know from our games, from the 80s, from the 90s. This time, though, we are not only dipping back into the 70s, but we're going beyond that 1999 stopping point, and we're going into the new millennium. So I can tell you that what this game is actually going to do in terms of roster is go through all the eras and bridge the gap between 80s Mania Returns and Modern Mania GM. All right, so I'm not actually going to reveal the name of the game just yet, or super specific details about characters or features or anything, but we do plan on having a big reveal at some point. So that reveal will be rather soon, so stay tuned for that. But what I can tell you right now is that with all these characters from the 70s and 80s and 90s and 2000s, we're actually even going to have characters from Modern Mania appear in this game.
Oh, yeah.
They're younger or rookie forms, so there's plenty of candidates that you know and love for Modern Mania that will appear in this game as well. All right, so every single one of these characters I'm talking about is actually going to get brand new art, brand new stats. So this is our chance now to kind of have like a blank slate, a clean canvas to sort of reset the Mania universe. After all these years and all these character releases and different versions of the game and feature updates, now we can kind of recollect everything and re-envision the entire Mania universe. Yeah, the character artwork is going to be very clean, very fresh. There's new color palettes. Some of the art we tried to, stay true to the original piece. For sure. Characters that you know and love aren't going to look too drastically different, but we did reimagine some of them, and it's just going to have a very clean, unified, fresh look as it pertains to artwork. And going back into the other thing I mentioned, since we're dipping into the 70s and into the new millennium, you're going to see all sorts of new characters, right? Characters from those two eras specifically, and then brand new characters from the 80s and from the 90s. All right, let's talk about features just a little bit now, okay? These are super exciting. I'm not going to give too many details here, but I am going to go through some stuff that I think will whet your appetite a little bit, all right? We've got lots of brand new title belts coming. You can even customize your title belts. Commentary teams, referees. We've got a brand new animation system, okay, for matches and skits and mic spots, in which the new simulation formula we've got should create animations that are a little bit more exciting to watch.
They do.
Maybe those commentary teams will be on screen kind of, ad-libbing the action that you see. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of restatting all the wrestlers, we've actually got a brand new stat called morale, in which you've got to sort of manage the wrestlers' personalities and how they react to things like being a champion or not being booked or constantly losing. We've got, of course, our tag team unlocks and our feud unlocks, but it's not how it was before, right? So maybe to unlock a feud, you've got to build things up a little bit before you automatically unlock it. We've got a brand new merch system where every wrestler is going to have multiple items of custom merch and a whole new merch table in which you can display it in fun ways and, earn some game cash and all that kind of stuff. All right, so another thing I'm particularly excited about when building this new game is the fact that we've got this podcast going, right? So it's an opportunity for us to reveal information about this game like we're doing right now. And then for you guys, the players, the listeners, to chime in with feedback, questions, opinions. And then the following Mike Spot episode, we'll be able to, gather all that stuff, speak to it, answer some questions, and just sort of gather some ideas, right? Take the temperature of the community, see what you guys like or see what you guys are suggesting. And I really see it like an experimental development period where the players are able to help us craft this new game. Yeah. So to me, that's super exciting. I'm stoked to be revealing this early stuff right now so that we can get this whole process rolling. So I realize one of the first big questions that people are going to wonder is when, right? Like when would this thing be released? So I can tell you that 2025 for sure. We're at a very healthy stage of development right now where we've got lots and lots of artwork done. We've got lots of new features already built. We're starting to test it. But there's some stuff left to go. There's some big features we still need to build. Plenty of testing, plenty of cleanup. But it is looking good. So it might be sooner than you think. But stay tuned for that because we're going to keep on, obviously, hinting and teasing and promoting stuff as it's ready. Definitely. I realize a second big question is what happens to the current games, right? What happens to 80s Mania Returns and what happens to Modern Mania GM, while this new game is being developed or when it comes out? And the answer is really nothing, right? So those games should remain unaffected. We plan on updating both games. And this, as I said a bunch of times already, this new game is a completely separate experience, okay? It is familiar enough that you'll understand how to play, but it is a completely separate experience and game from the other two games. So those will remain intact, and we're excited about having all three of them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's about all I'm comfortable saying at this point, but that should be enough info to get people excited, to get people curious and asking questions and coming up with ideas about stuff they'd like to see. So for now, we'll call it quits on talking about the new project, but definitely keep an eye out for teasers and promos and future episodes where more and more stuff is revealed. And again, I'm super excited that you guys are getting clued in on this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Absolutely. It's going to be huge.
All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for this episode. And you know what? This is a really fun one. It was really cool being able to talk like from the heart in the very beginning with the Mount Rushmore stuff. So if you guys listening out there like that sort of conversation, we'll try to, do it every episode if we can. All right, for now, it's enough talking. We got to get back to playing the game.
So until next time, we hope you have fun playing too. And as always,
if you're down for more Mike Spots,
stay tuned.
Are you a fan of Checkmate creative content? The most impactful way to show your support is by leaving our games 5-star ratings on Google Play and the App Store. That ensures we keep making more of the content you love and games you want to play. Following both 80s Mania Wrestling and Modern Mania Wrestling on Instagram, X, and Facebook is the best way to stay up to date with our latest news and character reveals. We invite you to share any and all feedback about your playing experience directly with us at support@80smaniawrestling.com or support@modernmaniawrestling.com.
This has been a Checkmate Creative production.